So welcome to Center of Light. Today I went to Walgreens, to buy one of these things to light all of those things. And as I'm entering the entrance of the store, it says it on the little handle, entrance. I must have walked into a gate, because on the ground was laying this beautiful lime green, almost the color of the heart chakra, right there on the ground, completely full. Welcome to Center of Light Radio. I have a phenomenal guest today. This guy, I talked to him in the radio green room and said, watching him on YouTube, how I discovered him. Saryon Michael White. It massaged me. I knew it was true, at least for him. He's so good at it, it made it real for me. I said, I want him on the show. And he lovingly decided, yes, I will. The Divine Principle, my bestseller. 8 years in meditation from 12 in the afternoon, 6 sometimes to 9 at night. And I would not leave this chair or a chair as this one, except to eat food, use the bathroom, or run an errand. If you want to purchase that book, look in this forum. You will see a link to Amazon. Share, share, share. Where are my share warriors? We always hear about prayer warriors. Where are my share warriors? I need some share warriors. A couple of adverts before we get into Center of Light Radio beeswax. September 21st and 22nd. Let me get settled into my captain's chair because this place is about to launch. 4 Points Expo through Holistic Wellness and Practices. This weekend. If you're in Memphis, do attend. Yes, we need your input financially to have this beautiful thing, this beautiful flower unfold. But the real reason is, as we give, we receive. When you go to this place, this event, yes, buy things because it reminds you of a special time in your life, being there and all the energy. But what we want you to leave with is the greatest capacity, or a greater capacity, of yourself. Danielle says, what a great book. Thank you, dear. You're lovely. My blessings. Bring back a part of you that you have long forgotten. This weekend, keynote speakers, Larry Flaxman, Discovery Channel Ancient Aliens, Jason Rand, author, radio show host, researcher. Myself, I will be a keynote speaker, and I will be talking about radical transformation, crossing the bridge to the soul. I want to give you an immediate experience. I want you to experience the bells and whistles of why so many crazy of us are into this, and we're in it to win it. Because there's something happens when you engage yourself. People may go under the understanding that it seems like this is just a lot of work. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's not work at all. It's play. And when you get into that momentum, oh my God, I love it. Things get crazy good. Crazy good. There's going to be crystals and stones, nutrition, holistic medicine services, environmentally conscious businesses changing the world. One person at a time. Spiritual readers, authors, paranormal investigators and researchers, Akashic record readers. Oh my God. Auric photography, free and paid workshops, food trucks, and lots of entertainment. I might play a set. 70s classics. I love that sappy 70s stuff. $20 for both days. $15 per day. My keynote speaker talk is going to be at 4 p.m. on Saturday. Join me. If I can touch you, you are in a whole lot of spiritual trouble, because I'm going to grab you and throw you in the moving river of life. Wow! This weekend, take a road trip. I'm going to do everything I can as the center of light, a beacon, to broadcast as much of this as possible, because I do have a life. I'm teasing. But I will be manning a booth and so forth. But I'm going to be interviewing these different vendors. It's going to be just cool. It's just going to be cool. Why? Because that's the way I roll. 4 Points Spiritual Expo. You want to know more about it? Contact me here in this forum. Send me a Facebook inbox. You can look up Circle of Chi. That's Circle of QI. Circle of Chi. On Facebook and or the internet. CBD oil products. This, that, the other. This delicious stuffage. A couple more adverts and then we're going to get down to some cheese. We're going to have a whole bunch of fun. You better hold on to your britches, sexy, beautiful human bitches. I like this guy. I like what he's about. I like what he's doing. It reminds me of a beautiful possibility for all of us. Wow, that's a lot. And you're worthy of it. October 2nd is my target date. We're going to do some PCP, y'all. Anybody ever done PCP? Power, Connection, Purpose. 6-week bust you wide open course. I'm going to split you in half. Dive in. Online video form just like you see now. 4 models for alignment. I promise you these 4 models will put you into alignment. Same with Radical Transformation in my keynote talk. I want you to have an immediate experience. It's a Windows desk icon shortcut to get you to believe greater, to get you to see with an expanded awareness. And I hope my guest tonight, Saryon, and I talk about awareness expansion. Q&A form. You get me for the question and answer while we do this once a week for 6 weeks. Or you can just contact me during the day for that 6 weeks. There's a small fee. Small. It is small. But what it really requires is all of you. All of you. Every fiber. September 25th, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to have a conversation with God. I did say that correctly. I meant it. What is the state of the world? I'm in it to win it. There's no other way to skin that cat. I'm going to ask questions to the divine. The 9th incarnation, this is his 9th incarnation on the planet as God beating his feet thousands upon thousands of years ago. This energy that lives in this body, trust me, what you're looking at is not human. He was the first God realized being to set foot on the earth thousands upon thousands of years ago. If you are interested in attending this event, all you have to do is say so. You have to live in Memphis or show up in Memphis. And lastly, July 31st, 2020 is my target release date for Homecoming Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. Welcome to Center of Light Radio. Shortly, very shortly, after Lavender Soul, my spiritual band, we're starting to write a new album now, comprised of Memphis Symphony Orchestra players. These people can play. They are no joke. They are vesseling, like my guest tonight is going to share with you. He's paying it forward. Saryon Michael White. He's going to help put you in your natural state, which is the everlasting light. How about some Lavender Soul? Let's see. See the light? How appropriate is that? Going to be right back. Center of Light Radio. Keith Anthony Blanchard. Yanava. Ya. Heart. God. Na. Mind. Michael Saryon and I talked about this. Discernment. Va. The backbone. Yanava. Yaha. Naha. Vaha. This is the ancient seed syllable self of your very being. Be right back. Nothing's like you knew before. See inside, see the light.
Welcome to the Center of Light with spiritual teacher, intuitive, musician, composer, and best-selling author of The Divine Principle, Anchoring Heaven on Earth, your host, Keith Anthony Blanchard.
I will be with you always, until the end of time. You will never be alone. I am.
I feel you there beside me. All of my life, all through my days, I've seen places far away. Wondering just where, time and again, I have come to know you. Wondering just where, time and again, you are there beside me. When I create, when I feel love, whenever I feel you with me, I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. Help me know
It is my will that you know me. I will not hide my love from you. You create your reality, and every moment by your own perceptions, your judgments, actions. Peace is a state of mind. Bliss is a state of heart. Heaven is a state of being.
deep in my heart, I know you're there. I can always feel you guiding my life to see the light that will lead me to the truth. When I create, when I feel love, whenever I feel you with me, I celebrate times Welcome back to Center of Light, all my na vites. It's about to get real in here. Let me tell you a little bit about my guest tonight. First, I want to share with you what I know or have experienced. He's very sincere. You can see that. You will be able to see it immediately. He's very clear. He's very aware. He's aware of what he's talking about, and it's real. It's absolutely congruent, and it is aligned. Not because he read a whole bunch of stuff. It's a very living reality for him. It'll be very apparent to you. Let me give you his bio so we can bring him on Center of Light Radio. Yo. If you hear a low rumbling happening, because you have a nice stereo, I live near a train station, an industrial area, so the ground is always rumbling. Tonight on Center of Light Radio, a new evolutionary crossroads. Saryon Michael White is an author, a spiritual channel. He connects with angelic beings. He does. Saryon Michael White is an author, a spiritual channel, and a global messenger of humanity's peace potential. As an international speaker and intuitive consultant, Saryon's workshops, conferences, and private readings have touched the lives of people throughout the world. In the same vein as books like The Celestine Prophecy, Saryon has taken a truth-telling through fiction approach to convey a series of highly relevant teachings through his new spiritual adventure series. The first book, titled Roya Sands and the Bridge Between Worlds, oh my God, that sounds like crossing the bridge to the soul, is now available on Amazon. Saryon's lifelong devotion to the practice of channeling has led to extraordinary breakthroughs in consciousness that have helped make the invisible realms a much more accessible experience for his audience. Currently, Saryon anchors the divine principle, anchoring heaven and earth. God, he and I are connected. Currently, my bro anchors the School of Manifestation, a new dispensation of teachings from the ascended masters to educate humanity during its time of transition into a new age, which we don't really age because you are old as dirt itself. I posted contact in the forum. Welcome to Center of Light Radio, my brand new friend. You're on mute. I love it. I love the humor in that.
All right, there we go.
In fact, I make people find the mute button just for that reason, just to play a joke. No, I'm teasing. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining me in a heart space of a connection of that which is real, but I like treading sacred ground, that necessary required space of, oh shit, here we go. And I know you live that. I ask usually, my brother, 3 questions of my guests as often as I can remember. The first one would be, what happened? How did you get to this point? For most people, it is through an unconscious choice, which brings about pain. It was that way for me. The other is the meat and taters of you and I's hanging out. And the final would be, we'll get there when we get there. So, how did you become a conscious channel?
Well, maybe the simple way to answer that question is to say that I asked for it. Now, I suppose I might have been predisposed in certain ways because of training from other lifetimes and the plan of my life that I merely discovered by asking the right questions. But it all really did ultimately begin with self-inquiry, asking questions about, who am I? What is my potential as a human being? What are we connected to? What's out there? How can we access what is within and behind the illusion of matter itself? So when I discovered that you could channel spiritual guides, that you could work with them to bring in information that could be entirely and completely new on the planet. I was fascinated by that idea, and I basically said, "Hey, sign me up."
I love, I interrupt sometimes because you say something, and my guests say something, and I need more of that. So always forgive me when I tread on your toes.
Sure.
So again, the question I posed was, what got you into this? And you gave a beautiful idea and everything about it. But how did you know that you could do that? Did you read a book? Was your grandmother a psych? I mean, that was the choice you made to move into this experience, to literally invite that experience. But how did you know that such a thing was real to be able to invite it?
Well, I read about it and I felt the truth of it. It just struck me like a bolt of lightning. I felt the truth in my whole body that this was real. This is why I was here. But then I also had some very powerful confirmations, perhaps in a more dramatic way than I think a lot of people do. For me, the first really big confirmation was an experience of a face-to-face connection with the Master Jesus in a dream state, which then turned into a full-blown visionary experience of being connected to his love and the source consciousness behind that love. It's like I was looking up an elevator shaft into all of the higher dimensions through his presence, aligning myself with the very heart of the divine, the very heart of God. It's like I could see it, I could feel it. I was touched by it. I woke up from that vision vibrating. Every single atom of my being was vibrating with that love. And I knew, I remember saying, wow, that was my first, at the time I said religious experience, because I didn't have the term transcendental experience or mystical experience or whatever wasn't even in my vocabulary yet. I was 17 years old. I woke up from that vision and I had to throw on my clothes and head out the door to go to high school.
So you said 17. This was 17 years old. That's phenomenal. I mean, I understand now this with the wave upon wave upon wave of children coming into the earth, that such a level kind of thing begins to happen at an early period in their life. But you were 17. It took me to be 33 to get my momentum going.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also had long periods of time, in my 20s, for example, where it seemed like the progress was slow in terms of opening those channels and, making the big discoveries. And I had to spend a lot of time really getting grounded and not chasing after spiritual experiences and really just getting grounded in the world before things started to open up again. So I had a really big awakening from the age of like 17 through 18 and 19. There were mass mystical things happening one after another. ET contact, out of body experiences, mystical experiences. And it started to taper off a little bit. And then gradually I got smacked with some very intense grounding initiations that sort of, brought me down from my high horse of being so gung-ho about pursuing the big spiritual mission. And I had to just relax, develop a lot of patience, start to learn how to practice meditation to really center myself. I had to work on healing a lot of old childhood wounds that had come up that were blocking me. I had to balance karma from other lifetimes. I had to be in the muck of, dealing with all of the kinds of things that we all do, facing fears, insecurities, struggling with poverty, those kinds of things. And then gradually it started to open back up again. And I discovered that actually the only way forward, the only way to heal myself more was to just start serving and being of service to others. And that's when my nature as a channel started to come online in a bigger way. And at that point, everything I did became a channeling process. And it was a process that healed both me and was serving everyone else that I was doing this for.
Again, if this began to happen to you at 17, that's awesome. But on top of that, it wasn't just an experience. You had wisdom begin to anchor itself early in your experience, because you said, I wasn't into the spiritual bells and woo-woo, that you were steadfast, knew you had to be grounded. At that age. At that age, the last thing I wanted was grounding. So, in with the early part of your experience was this awakening with this wisdom. So, obviously, you came back to the earth a little more endowed than many others, as to why it may take others to awaken. Like me, it took me to be 33. So, what is this new crossroads that you have been talking about? And if you would share a little bit about your contact with, be it extraterrestrials or angels, or as you wish, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I want to try to paint a picture that is a pretty big picture, but it's not such a stretch to really grasp it at this point. Maybe some of these ideas, if I was talking about them, 10 years ago, it would be different. But, right now we can actually look around and see the signs of these two different timelines emerging, and it's discernible, it's viscerally real. And so we can start to talk about these different potentials that are showing up that our bodies are actually connected to. So one of them is, it's really interesting. If you look around, you're probably, a lot of you are starting to see things online, advertisements. Maybe you see stuff on YouTube. Maybe you've come across different forms of augmented reality, virtual reality. There's now massive online global gaming tournaments. I mean, there's kids literally winning millions of dollars playing video games in tournaments. And there's whole arenas being built, just like a sports stadium, for these kinds of things. And it's also starting to branch into augmented reality, what they call extended reality, where we're starting to actually build out an experience where augmented reality is interfacing with a physical environment, so that it's really a blend of the two. But then you also have virtual reality games. You have more and more of these centers popping up. There's like thousands of them all over the world, and it's growing in popularity. The technology is becoming better and better all the time. You can now purchase some of these different types of headsets, virtual reality, augmented reality headsets online. So this is a growing trend. And I mean, there are actually profound uses for these forms of technology. But in terms of what this could potentially become as a very enticing form of both entertainment and something that develops into a full-scale way of being for a modern human being, if you take that concept, that idea of a human experience that is, quote, digitally enhanced, where there is a digital reality overlaying our physical reality everywhere we go, and people eventually literally live their lives with this kind of wearable, technologically, technology enhancements. If you take that and extrapolate that out, there's potentially a whole timeline where the entire world becomes converted into that type of human experience. Now, if that happened, we would potentially, at somewhere along the lines, reach a point of no return where we would be so immersed, we would lose touch with a lot of different historical potentials, natural evolutionary potentials, because once enough people buy into the idea that this kind of digitally enhanced human experience is what's going to bring us all together, is what is going to finally unify humanity. Once enough people embrace that idea or ideal of the new human being, it's like a resonance inside of our emerging collective brain starts to take hold, and we all begin to identify with this. We all begin to identify with the AI interface that will eventually be something that we are able to experience a mind-to-mind connection with. Now, that sounds futuristic maybe to some people, depending on what you think of as the future. that might even sound cool or interesting or exciting. What I've been shown, however, is that there's a consortium of secret agendas and economic interests, investors, and even extraterrestrial agendas and interests that want this to happen, that are heavily promoting the idea of this. It's being promoted in our movies. It's being shown to us more and more. And we're being seeded with the idea that this is what our new human future looks like. Because along that timeline, human beings will come to value the digital world in such a way that they will no longer care about the Earth's resources, and they will simply see the Earth's resources as commodities to be traded away for new alien technology, for new technological enhancements, things that can make us more technologically.
This is so the Matrix. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that is one whole timeline. There is another timeline that looks very different, and it's what I would call the ascension timeline, the timeline of the divine plan. And what you have to understand about these technologies that are being introduced to us, the most frightening and most enticing simultaneously ones that have not been publicly introduced yet, are being planned as to introduce to us so that it thwarts very specific natural evolutionary potentials. So think about this. We're on the verge of actually discovering that we can become a telepathic race without the need for technological enhancement. We're on the verge of awakening our collective heart and discovering compassion and love and creativity as a force. I mean, we're talking about the force from Star Wars. I mean, we're talking about a real visceral feeling of spiritual current flowing through your body that can heal people, that can manifest things, that can create miracles in the same way that the Master Jesus demonstrated. We're talking about real science and real magic, real divine manifestation, arriving in our consciousness, showing us what we're truly capable of, and attuning us to a whole new kind of human experience that is the experience of the presence of the divine walking within us, co-creating with us. We become co-creators with God.
I've always said, brother, I've always said that when we understand who walks by our side, we will never be afraid ever again.
Yes.
Right. Dude, that is some pretty expansive way out, actually, rather way in stuff. I love that you lean into the extraterrestrials. I love that you lean into the ultra terrestrials. What is it like to, this is one of my favorite questions to ask my guests. What is it like to be you when you're in that space of samadhi, that space of that space? What is that? Words will soil it, I'm sorry, but what does it feel like to be you?
Well, I have had some experiences with a samadhi state, and really a true samadhi state is actually an order of magnitude much, much greater than what I experience typically when I am merged with high-level guides. So if I was comparing those two things, now being merged in my channel with a high-level guide is still a profound experience. It is an experience that can, bridge you into those other levels of consciousness. But I think the next time that I have an experience of a samadhi state, which I haven't had a full-blown experience of that probably since really the early days of my awakening. I think once that happens, it'll be the beginning of a very a radical and radically different phase of my life. Leaving behind certain degrees of egoic consciousness and fear, and really shedding that, which is a process. It's a process that you keep chipping away at it until the momentum to surrender to a much higher level overtakes you. So I'm grateful that I can feel that process happening in my life. It's a consistent thing as I continually do self-purification, as I continue to let go whatever attachments, fears, insecurities, things that arise to be purged in this process of surrendering more to love and light. It's an amazing experience, and it's very affirming of the truth of divine love that's guiding our lives, that's seeking to enter into the world through us. But I would say how it feels like all of your atoms, your chakras, your body is going into alignment with a source of energy, like you're plugging in, just like plugging into a wall socket, like you're an appliance that's getting plugged in. You're getting plugged in to a source of energy that you can feel, and it comes and vibrates inside of your body, and you can feel like you're literally being lifted, like there's slightly less gravity. It's an amazing experience.
From the chat room, Shauna, let me see her last name. I love getting people's names right, as you know, my bro. Shauna Farmer asked the question, how did you ground? How did you do it? How did you ground? So I don't have to ask a second question. I'm gonna ask 2 questions. How did you ground? And how do you bridge yourself to the invisible and make it so very apparent and visible to you? How do you do those 2 things, my friend?
Well, the grounding is a big thing. For a lot of people, for me, I had to go through many different grounding initiations, and what those grounding initiations were about was about letting go of the fear of coming all the way into the body. So a lot of people, a lot of light workers in the world actually have a fear of their own root chakras. They're afraid to actually surrender to the root chakra, to have their light come all the way into the body, because sometimes there are memories of other lifetimes where we were persecuted for holding the light, we.
Marianne Williamson, the lady running for president, Marianne Williamson says, "We're not afraid of the dark. We're afraid of our own capacity of light." And as you were saying, my bro, when we had such power, we did some pretty ridiculous things, and it's brought about this anticipation, this fear of, why would I want to go back to that thing that when I was gifted with power, that I put myself in such a horrible situation?
Yeah. So there's 2 things, to answer the question, because different people are approaching this from different angles. Some people are connected to who they are spiritually. They've had a spiritual awakening. They feel like, I'm a spiritual being, having a human experience, and they identify more with spirit and almost kind of discard the body, or they live in a way that's a little bit disconnected or disassociated from their own bodies. Now, those people need a lot more support to let go of their fear of coming into the body. They also have to start to treat human beings and the human experience and the body itself as being equal to who we are as spiritual beings, to not think that, the spirit is the amazing divine part and the body is like the gross, dense, non-sacred part of me. You actually have to start to really treat the body as a sacred temple that is as sacred as your own I am presence. So that's what happens when you're approaching it from that angle. But there's other people that are more in their bodies, and they struggle to feel a connection to spirit, and they want to believe, they want to connect, they want to feel something. So being grounded is not their issue. For them, it's about letting go of their fear of making the connection. Some people have religious fears they have to get over. They're afraid that they might be deceived by opening up to a greater spiritual connection. Some people have a kind of a worthiness issue that has to be overcome, where they need to actually feel worthy of the divine, worthy of a connection to something that they perceive as being on the other end of a.
Let me ask you this, my friend. You said
It-
something that is so magnanimously powerful. We're speaking about the divine in this regard as to why some people have to feel worthy that they can ever even touch or glimpse such a thing. But I think this would be true in every aspect of life because everything is divine. So, relationship, job, this, that, or the other. And since God is omnipresent and it's all a divine play of consciousness, Lila, it's basically what opens that door is simply allowing yourself to feel worthy. That whatever it is, you can call it an ascension, you can call it a deity, heck, you can call it an ice cream cone. So it's about just feeling worthy, which is a door opener to a greater place, yeah?
yeah, yeah, and I really feel one of the messages that I've embraced in my heart as kind of a core aspect of what I bring and what resonates through everything that I teach and write. It's that message of equality. There are so many different ways that the consciousness of equality can be applied to our process of integrating light and dark, heaven and earth, physical, non-physical, integrating with all aspects of human spirituality, integrating with all of the religions, all aspects of human culture. There's so many different ways that equality can be applied as a consciousness to create a bridge between the many different aspects of who we are as humanity. And so I always come back to that, treating people as equals, holding equality with the plants, with the tiniest of insects, with the archangels, not seeing ourselves as being less than, not seeing ourselves as being greater than. Size is an illusion. You are on an equal footing with every being, no matter what the size, through the oneness of our equality, because we're all co-equal with the one. Behind everything, there is simply one vibration that we're all a part of. And if we're all co-equal with the one, then size matters not.
Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio, hanging out with my brand new friend, but old ancient brother, Saryon Michael White, and we're talking about a bunch of really cool stuff. He's helping me to align with things I've long forgotten until I got to know him again. We're speaking about a new evolutionary crossroads, things emerging. I always say get out of the fight, stop fighting. If you're anti-terrorist or anti-racist, that's amazing. Don't be anti-anything. Be a pro-something. Because being in the fight as you anti-terrorist or anti-racist, you might be part of the nonsense and the noise. Real easy. Because no matter what you are fighting in any aspect of life, it's just an internal bickering, looking for something to blame or praise it for. Your life is a choice. It's always an infinite choice. Lavender Soul. I'm going to play a song I don't play often. Not, in fact, it's one of my favorite songs. I just recently put it back on my playlist. As my guest tonight said, it's you. You are perfect in every way possible. You're perfect in every way. Some people get it now, some people get it later. There is no rush. In fact, there is no time. So we all get it in one big bang. You're perfect in every way. Enjoy.
There's a world apart from man and fear. There might be a better way to a choice to make, to promise yourself you'll celebrate. There's a time to trust, and a time to love, and a time to know who you are. So let the love of God on you. It's always been that way. It's time to celebrate who you are. Perfect in every So it's up to you, a plan to make, to promise yourself you'll celebrate. There's a time to love, and a time to trust, and a time to know you are loved. Time to know you are loved. So let the love of God on you. It's always been that way. It's time to celebrate what you are. It's time to celebrate who you are. It's time to celebrate that you are.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Did you hear those lyrics in that song? So let the love of God fall upon you. It's always been that way. It's time to celebrate who you are. Perfect in every way. How delicious is that? Welcome to Center of Light Radio. My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard. I am your host from coast to coast. I do believe in aliens, angels, and ghosts. In fact, with my guest tonight, Saryon Michael White, I hope we can move into that segment if he wants, wherever he wants to go, to talk about the angelic connection as well as the ET connection. What is that like? How does that transpire for you? So others, like you and I, can relate to what it's like for you, and we can all find the common denominator of, yeah, I've been aboard a craft. Yes, I've been hanging out with other people.
Well, I think it's really important for people to understand the need for discernment, because there are a lot of different types of extraterrestrial beings that are starting to show up more and more, that are even seeking to gain a foothold here, that are very, very clever at creating human beings to think that they have a right to be here, that we should be welcoming them, that it's good for us to have them here. But this actually constitutes a form of interference in our natural evolutionary pathway that is taking place in a clandestine way, and that is masking what its real agendas are. So there are extraterrestrial civilizations that would be considered friends and allies of ours, but they practice non-interference. They are not necessarily the ones that we're seeing so often in the skies when people are catching things on video and taking pictures. A lot of these beings that are our allies are available to those that take the right approach and that connect to the right channels, because these beings have no interest in supporting us to form attachments to them and to their energy and to being sourced by them in any way. So people that are reaching out and looking for somebody to save them, or thinking that connecting with an ET is going to be validating of their spiritual identity as star seeds, I would be concerned about contact
I hear
or
you, bro. I see it. God
that whole
bless.
starseed mentality of thinking that there's some kind of a specialness that comes from that.
Yeah, and God bless everybody on social media. I hear you, bro, and I love it that they're trying. I love that spirituality is a trend. I love it versus it not being. And I get it. And people say I'm a star seed from Lyra or this place, and it's the impact and the specialness and the truth and the reality of everything you're sharing. It kind of gets lost. It's almost not like debunking, but what they call that. They're just adding just a bunch of use, useless stuff to the mix. And the truth of it all somewhat gets pushed to the wayside. It just gets lost in all the noise.
Yeah. And the thing is I'm not even saying that there aren't star seeds, because I happen to know for a fact that there are. I know what a star seed is, but I also know that a lot of people are getting turned on by this idea that that kind of a spiritual identity is, like I said, making you special, but that it that it gets you somewhere in your evolutionary process to focus upon that, or to claim that, or to see that as giving you some kind of a status in relationship to the galactic community. What I always tell people is that when it comes to discovering our galactic heritage, when it comes to our reconnection to a galactic spectrum of consciousness of which we are a part, we need to put the angelic presence into focus and actually go there first. Develop our attunement to the angelic presence, become integrated with the angels that have been sent to serve humanity. Because when you are integrated with the consciousness of the angels, then the angels become part of your spiritual discernment. They become part of the clearinghouse. You can set up your field of intention that nothing can contact me or come through the gateway of this consciousness that is not in integrity with the angelic presence. That's how I operate as a channel. That's how I've learned to operate. That's how I was taught by Archangel Michael personally and other angelic beings. And that's how other beings, for example, like really advanced teachers that come from the earth itself, like various dolphins and whales that also have discernment about ET energy. As guardians, as a guardian species in the world, they are transmitting and transferring and passing on their wisdom and their attunements and their knowing, that when you have integrity with the earth, when you have integrity with the earth's guardians, and when you have integrity with the angelic realms, then you are putting the right things first. And it's not so.
Bro, I got to stop you there. I love that you're talking about the word integrity. Integrity. I love it. Because integrity, for those, I'm sure everyone has an idea of what integrity is. But to me, Webster's Dictionary is one of the greatest spiritual books ever written, because it brings the collective to a space of consciousness and understanding and agreeing. And there's basically no way out of it. And so when you get the chance, anyone, because I'm a wordsmith, I love words, the abracadabra. But when you look up the word integrity and we come to a state of clarity of what it really is, it's holding something in a state of integrity. It's solid. Be it integrity, like, sometimes I like my pasta. I like it to have integrity. I like to have a bounce about it. So integrity, not only as a truth, but as a choice, means that nothing is coming into the gate that truly does not serve me to the shortest route between what I know as myself and the highest experience. Would you agree with that, sir?
Yes. Yeah, and I would say that there are, what you could call pillars of consciousness that we are learning to hold integrity with. This may be one way to sort of visualize it or imagine it. For me, I think in terms of interlocking circles and councils and families of consciousness, but you could also think of this in terms of pillars that represent the spiritual commitments that make up our original divine blueprint of what we were created for, to be upon this earth.
What a great lead in. So what were we created for? That was such a perfect dance step, partner. So what were we created for?
Well, our original divine blueprint was to be the sovereign keepers of this world, keepers of its gifts, of its knowledge, of its resources. When we really understand the nature of the resources of this world and how we were originally meant to be guardians of those resources, we will understand the resources as anchors of frequency. We're talking about frequencies of knowledge, frequencies of memory, frequencies of spiritual current, frequencies of consciousness, like gold.
Saryon, I want to interject. I love that you're talking about frequencies. Anytime someone says the word frequencies, like when a game show, and the bells go off, they said the magic word. Frequency not only has to do with vibration, because as we look at waveforms, be it a tight wave or a slow or expanded wave, not only is it frequencies and vibration, but it's frequency as in frequently frequency. How frequent are we on in this experience? So it's about doing the work that allows us to be in the gate, to play in the garden of Shiva, to play in the garden of in the kingdom of soul, and just simply wanting that, simply wanting it. It's just this longing, this yearning, this burning, this churning within that says, I can't stop. In fact, I couldn't, and I wouldn't stop this process. Would you say that's what it feels like to be you? That there's this momentum so moving, it's sometimes hard to keep up.
I would say that I am living an experience of being led intuitively by my potential. So I have become married to my potential in this life, such that if I deviate from that potential, then I can feel that in my body. It feels as though I'm becoming misaligned from the timeline of my highest path. And it feels like I'm out of integrity with something. It's a visual experience in my body. So if I'm not using my time, my energy, my resources appropriately, then it becomes more apparent more quickly, and the correction happens quicker than before I became married to my potential.
Let me ask you this, Saryon. Does all this dance, all this process, all this work seem like just a memory to you? Something you've done before, and then I'm just in a process of remembering it simply. Because, does it feel that star cosmic like for you that I have these moments, my friend? I'll just be doing a chore, or just sitting here, and I go to this experience. It's like, whoa, and it's like I've been there before. In fact, one of my favorite bands, being a full-time musician, was Rush. So I have this affinity for Alex Lifeson, right? Then from Canada, I was in a Rush tribute band. It was called Rash, and our slogan was, if you don't like Rush, we will irritate you. And so I will have these dreams. Not dreams. I will have these experiences, and I've had them for years. And so some years ago, I would have an experience that I just saw Rush playing on a stage, and I got backstage passes, and I was hanging out with Alex and Getty, but Alex was my boyfriend. And then some months would go by, and I have another experience with Alex in Canada, in his band room, his personal studio area. And he says, where do I know you from? I said, well, don't you remember I met you? And I would refer back to the dream experience I had months before. And I had this the other night. I was like, he goes, hey, Keith, what's happening? And of course, we're both remembering of all the dream experiences we had, though I never met this man in real life. So it's like on this level of consciousness, there is an awareness, a dimension of me that truly lives in this place as to why I can actually in dreamscape go, don't you remember 2 months ago I came to your house and we talked about this kind of thing? Is this sort of what it's like to be you as you experience deeper into your soul with these extraterrestrials, these ultra-terrestrials, this simple remembering?
Well, I think that that's actually how we all experience life, whether we remember it or not, because we're multidimensional beings and we are connecting with each other telepathically, sometimes without realizing that that's what we're doing. But more and more people are crossing wires with each other, either in the physical or we cross wires with some other part of a person, like on a soul level or on the level of a shared dreamscape consciousness. And it's partly because there is a field that is strengthening in the world that is making it easier for these connections to happen. It's supporting us to network together in ways that surpass the networks that are forming through the internet, which are also playing a role because the internet is a stepping stone. It's helping us get networked together, but then the field of light is energizing those networks in a way that brings them to life outside of the electronic structures that have helped us jumpstart this process. So there is a field, and that's what I want people to start to attune to and to remember and to recognize, that we are united by a field of consciousness. There is a unified field of consciousness present. You can access it. It's part of how my awakening happened, because I realized when I started experiencing this field through my prayers and meditations, I then started to extend it out into the world, and I started calling and saying, hey, is there anyone else out there? In the same way that, you might pick up a CB radio, the way my dad, he used to talk to, truckers when they were driving through on the highway, and he would be in his garage working on his car, and he'd, pick up a CB radio and chat with some of the truckers that are driving by. Well, I remembered that from when I was a kid, and I went out into a field and I said, hey, is there anyone out there that is on this same wavelength of love and light and connection and Christ consciousness and unifying with this unified field? And as I broadcast that message out there, I started to have experiences of thousands upon thousands of people that were also waking up and hearing that and reflecting back that message and saying, yes, we are here. We're starting to feel you. We're starting to feel each other. And I realized that we were coming to life as a collective heart, as a
Bro,
family.
I love it. I freaking love it. I had some people, and they often, Keith, why do you do what you do all the time? You don't ask for money, and this is not about me. Why do you do what you do? And I had someone by the name of Rashmi Kilnani. She is ridiculously powerful. She says, I asked her, I talked to her, and I said, people always ask me, why do I do this for, quote, free? People donate, my life is good. But I asked her this question, she says, because you are constantly dumping light into the quantum field. I'm all like you, like many of us, we're constantly contributing to the quantum field, because I'm not contributing to the quantum field because I'm going to get something from it. But I'm contributing to the quantum field because I'm going to get something from it. I'm plugging to lose the force around you, Luke. I understand that place is all powerful. It's all pervading. It's the place, the space rather, of everything that we ever could have possibly imagined that could ever possibly exist.
Yes.
I like contributing. We're gonna go to our final break. Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard here, hanging out with my brand new friend, my ancient brother, Saryon Michael White, and we're talking about a new evolutionary consciousness. I appreciate you. How about some Peter Coyle? A friend of mine from Ireland wrote this beautiful, simple song. It wasn't recorded in a fancy studio, and it should never have been. It should not be. It's gorgeous. Listen to the art of this beautiful man's heart. Love is love. See you shortly.
Love is here, it's here to stay. It's here for everyone around the world each and every day. Love is true, love is pure. And if you find yourself in love, my friend, you'll feel the love for sure. Love is you, love is me. Love is everything about your life that makes you wanna be. Yeah, love is here, it's here to stay. Yes, love is love. Love is waking with a smile each day when things ain't going right. Love is being there for the ones you love through darkness into light. Love is seeing the world around you for the great place that it is. Love is being there for each other when there's problems with the kids. Love is here, it's here to stay. It's here for everyone around the world each and every day. Love is true, love is pure. And if you find yourself in love, my friend, you'll feel the love much more. Love is you, love is me. Love is everything about our lives that makes us wanna be. Yeah, love is here, it's here to stay. Yes, love is love. Yeah, love is here, it's here to stay. Yes, love is love.
Welcome back to Center of Light Radio. Keith Anthony Blanchard here. Yanava. Again, I will always repeat it. And I am going to start a new religion. Oh my God. It's the religion of non-religion. And it requires you to be fully within the three components, at least for now. We can only handle a few. But three components of your sacred, primordial, ancient seed syllable self. Yah. Heart, God, will. The ability to will forth power. You're no more powerful right now. You're no more powerful when you quote illumine than you are right now. Everything happens according to your will. Yah, heart, will, God. Na, mind when it's in balance, discernment. Backbone, va, yanava. When I wake up in the morning, I plant my feet on the floor and I say, as I plant my feet on the floor, plant yourself within me forevermore. And when I go to bed, I say the same thing somewhat in reverse, but thank you for this beautiful day, Yanava. It is complete. At the beginning, it has begun. At the end, it has complete. And it's not about the words. It has nothing to do with the words I've shared with you. It's your way of falling inside of yourself and saying, my delicious Lord, stand next to me and illuminate me. Whatever words I can use that will shift me into that space. It's that space. And it's not difficult. It's not hard. If you're efforting, you've already missed it. What would you say, my bro?
I'm just feeling a good vibe, and there was an awareness that was coming to me actually when I was meditating before we got on this call. And it feels like a message that perhaps is meant to go out to the audience, to just share something that might be a little bit out there, might be a little bit unexpected, but we're talking about these two different timelines, and it's always, I think, hopeful, helpful, supportive to know about the empowering resources that we have working for us and for the unification of the family of light on the timeline of our ascension. And so what I was getting was this beautiful awareness of what I would describe as invisible structures of light that are in the world, that are part of the world, that were created to vibrate with light in a way that helps to unify our chakras and connect all of us together with a kind of platform that is emerging for our unified consciousness. And so this is something that you can start to attune to in your meditations, these living energetic structures. Some of them are actually part of some of the ancient pyramids and temples that we do recognize a spiritual connection to, and some of them don't have any particular physical structure tied to them. But these living structures of light, some of them are like temples of light that have descended from the higher dimensions and anchored into certain mountain peaks. And there are ethereal places like that that are anchoring and coming online and broadcasting a calling to align with.
So are you speaking about geometry? Are you speaking about the language that happens between the intention and the manifestation, which would be the angelic kingdom, which is, maybe you've heard the saying that angels are not per se in and of themselves a being. They're here as messengers. They always carry out the will and the voice of God. So are you speaking about geometric patterns?
There is definitely an element of sacred geometry that is connected with these living structures. But what I want to give people is first the idea, which can then become an awareness. If you imagine that there are these invisible towers of light and living structures, like living pyramids of light, that are beginning to vibrate with the incoming field of oneness, and those vibrations are supporting our chakras to open and reconstitute into their original configuration, their original divine blueprint, their original state of connectedness with a greater family of consciousness that we belong to. If you attune to that and you start to just attune your inner senses to these sources of light that are beginning to vibrate in the world that we can start to pick up on, there's an intention that connects you. All you need is your intention, and you can start to feel that these beautiful angelic frequencies and this beautiful grid of Christ consciousness is really starting to come online inside of us more and more.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Bro, I love your presence. You are a very clear, articulate, enunciating individual. What that tells me, how effortlessly it is to take you in order for me to do so. You are very clear. This happened to you at 17, and not only did it start to happen at 17, you were involved, engaged with such wisdom that you realize, I understand spiritual woo-woo, I get all that, but you were truly concerned about grounding yourself. What's coming down the pike for you, bro? Of course, we don't know. We don't want to know. That's kind of the magic and the mystery and the discovery. But what's coming down the pike for you in the form of where you're headed socially, market, whatever, all that stuff. So our listening audience can find more about you and keep up what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I am so excited about connecting people with is my first book. It's not the first book that I've written, but it's the first book I was guided to put out and make available to people. And it's interconnected with both a fiction and a nonfiction series. So this first book is a fiction book. It's a beautiful adventure story. And it also really takes you on a deep journey into these new insights and new forms of knowledge that are coming online. Everything I talked about the timelines, about the discernment that we need to understand what our collective choices are, the ascension timeline versus this other technological prison that is being created for us, that we're being enticed into over the course of many, many decades, so that it could happen gradually enough that we don't even realize what's happening until it's too late. You know, the discernment that we need is not out there yet. I haven't seen it in any books. I'm not hearing it talked about. That's why it is in this book. This book was one of the vehicles that came into being to give a teaching of discernment to humanity. And yet it's also a fascinating, fun adventure story. It's designed to inspire you about where the human story is going. It's a living teaching that connects you with the power of the imagination and quite literally the living intelligence of matter itself. And it teaches you real insights and tools that help to awaken your intuition and your awareness of living energy. So that is what I want people to experience. I want people to become a part of this new conversation that's being generated through this story. We actually just got 55-star reviews on Amazon. We just hit that today. So I'm so excited that we have.
As you should be. Most people don't take the time, as we talked about earlier, to say, I am worthy. I love, honestly, bro, I love when people brag about themselves. And I'm not saying that you're doing it from that platform. Brag meaning, I want to show you my accolades. I want to show you what happens when you stand in the fire, when you stand in the passion, the sincerity, the humility, and the vulnerability to say, you need to see what I'm doing, not because you need to see what I'm doing, but basically check this out, hoping to inspire other people. Bro, I love what you do. Would you leave us with a final thought, something you would offer that we can all kind of chew on for a little while and hope to digest and assimilate and put into motion?
Yeah. What I want to leave you with is that there are real, very profound, energetic, divine gifts that are coming into the world. Some of these are truly universal in nature. And it's what I would also refer to as a part of our spiritual inheritance. So imagine if you were to, get called into an office and you're being handed, your inheritance, in the way that we might imagine receiving like a monetary inheritance or an inheritance of properties. Well, there's a spiritual inheritance that we have come into being in these embodiments right now in this century to receive. It's a spiritual inheritance. It's a wealth greater than anything that we've ever even imagined having as human beings. And yet it is the pouring forth of all of the gifts that were anchored by all of humanity's prophets and teachers, all of the great beings that came before us that were like forerunners of our spiritual evolution and the awakening that we're here to demonstrate and live through now. And then there are also living masters that are in the world as well that are gifting us of themselves so that everything that they have brought into being can become a part of us. So that is what we can choose to receive, to align with, to say yes to, and to welcome into our lives, that there are real gifts of spiritual inheritance. Probably the one that I speak about the most is the gift of peace, that we can actually receive the energy of global peace into our consciousness as a divine gift, as a resonance of energy that comes from the angelic presence, and that also comes from all of the people in the world that are choosing to receive that gift with us, so that we don't have to create world peace from scratch. We can just receive the gift of that peace vibration and allow it to change our resonance so that it becomes easier and easier for more and more people to find the resonance of that global, galactic, universal peace within themselves just by choosing to adopt it and let it in. So yeah, that's what I want to leave people with.
How do you feel right now?
I feel great.
Right. And you want some more of that God smack. We can't stop it. It's ridiculous. Bro, that was phenomenal. So I told you I was going to ask you 3 questions. The first, the meat and taters, and then we get to the final question. And share it. It's we taint the sacred ground, but sometimes we have to do our best to describe it. What is God, source, creator, that thing, whatever we choose to deem it, what is that to you, my friend?
To me, it's love, but it's not love as an emotion. It's a force that is all encompassing, that everything is literally made from. It's the source of the vibration that began the universe as an act of conscious intent to create with vibration. And as we attune to the source of all vibration, we can follow a pathway that is literally embedded into every atom that exists and that's part of our bodies. We can actually attune our consciousness to a pathway dimensionally of vibration, to follow vibration back to its source, because all vibrations are connected back to that one vibration, and that one vibration that everything exists within, that to me is source consciousness. That is the God force. I often speak of God not just as God, but as the God presence, the God force, because that is something
I
that
so love that you said
part of-
something so powerful. When we, the collective, many people, when we often talk about God, it's like us and God. God, the thing that's over there, the thing that's up there. But I love that you introduced God presence. That is more God than me and God. It's that presence. And that presence truly happens by just wanting to be present with yourself, because if we can't understand the minuscule presence of being present with ourselves, how can we ever begin to understand, initiate, integrate, and graduate into the presence of something greater than we know it's ourselves?
Yes, absolutely.
Bro, this door is always open to you. Keep us posted on what you're doing, sir. I love it. Thank you for joining me. And
Absolutely.
my audience, they love you. They're just saying, Big Daddy, Big Daddy. Take your kudos, bro.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for all that tuned in.
Blessings, bro. Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. I do it often. It's not always by the specific date. Definitely Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes Wednesdays. And this will fluctuate. I will always keep you posted by post and what I'm doing and what to expect as it comes down the timeline. Lavender Soul coming out with a new album. I'm so excited. We're writing it now. Time with Swamji. God on Earth today, next Wednesday. You want information? Just contact me. I will post this live. So either way, if you can't make a road trip, it's all good. Just be willing to take an inner road trip with yourself. Find yourself happy. Just be happy for no reason. There is no reason for happiness. That's the world of ridiculousness. Suddenly, through the silence, when we shh, the new world appears. Suddenly, within the silence, the new world appears. My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard. I'll see you soon. Peace, love, and light. You are loved beyond measure.